Hello family, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you are with Grammy in the kitchen. So this video is going to be a little different. It's not a meal prepped to have a successful week. We will have a successful week, but that's not this video. My meal plan has changed just a tad bit since I made it last Tuesday. Today I decided I want to have a mini Thanksgiving and see if Barbara and Matt can come over for dinner with the boys. So this video is actually a mini Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy it. We're going to have this menu today and tomorrow, and we'll go on from there. So here we go. I needed a loaf of artisan bread, so I'm making a yeast artisan bread, and I need some dinner rolls because we're going to be using those as dinner rolls and sliders this week. So I made a half batch of my dinner rolls. I got it rising. Plus I made my artisan bread and I'm letting that do its rise. So we have our sweet potatoes. I'm just going to drizzle some olive oil on top. Rub them down very well. Okay, that's all we're going to do with that for right now. I do want to poke a few holes just through the skin. It'll cook a little bit faster that way. It's probably going to take about an hour to an hour and a half. So we're going to have the chicken that we took out of the freezer, stuffing or dressing, however you want it. That's what the artisan bread is for. Sweet potato yams and rolls. On day 2, I want to make sloppy joes, and we're going to use the dinner breads as our sliders with some french fries, and that's what the Yukon potatoes are for. On the 3rd day, we're going to do something with the chicken as a leftover meal. I'm undecided on what that's going to be, whether we're just going to have chicken and have the leftovers from today, or if I want to make a chicken soup or a chicken pot pie. That is decided on how much of the sweet potatoes we have left over from today. And then on the 4th day, we're going to do a Hamburger Helper chili mac. And you know, we don't buy the box, we make it at home with real ingredients. And then day 5 is going to determine whether we have any chicken left over, and we're going to do something with that, or we'll take a freezer meal that we made a couple months ago, last month or 2 months ago, I'm not sure when. I'll take a freezer meal out of the freezer and we'll have that on Friday with some mashed potatoes that we have in the freezer, maybe the macaroni and cheese. But Friday's going to determine of how much of the chicken we have left over. So that is our 5 meals for this week. But we're waiting on the dinner rolls and the artisan bread to rise so we can get those in the oven, and the sweet potatoes are in the oven. The sweet potatoes are not done yet, but I'm going to go ahead and get started on the artisan bread. It has risen. The dinner rolls are not ready yet. But I do need to put the Dutch oven in the oven to heat this up while we prepare our artisan bread. So I have a piece of parchment paper with some flour. Let's go ahead and dump out our artisan bread. It's a little sticky, but that's okay. We can work with this. I want to get the flour all over. Let's turn it over. Ooh, it is so sticky. Okay. I do want to score it just a bit. It doesn't really matter because we're not going to be eating this as fresh bread. I'm going to turn this into bread cubes and we're going to make a side dish from this bread. Alright, that looks good. Okay. Our Dutch oven is hot. Let's go ahead and drop our bread in. Lid back on. And we're going to cook that bread for 45 minutes in that Dutch oven. And then we'll take the lid off and continue to cook it for an additional 15 minutes. The sweet potatoes have been in the oven for 1 hour. I need to see if they're done. They are where I want them. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out. There is some resistance in the center, but that's what we want because we don't want to overcook these and then cook them again in the casserole. They'll get too mushy and soft. So this is where we're stopping this. Let's check on our bread. It's been in the oven for 45 minutes. It is done, but you can see how pale it looks. That's why we want to take the top off and cook it for the additional 15 minutes with the lid off. Our dinner rolls are rising, but they're not where I want them yet. Alright, we're going to let that sit and rise a little bit longer. So we still need to cook our chicken, cut and cube the artisan bread and get that toasted so we can make our side dish with that. We need to wait for the potatoes to cool down so we can peel those, cube those, and get that into a casserole dish. But we're going to go ahead and get our chicken ready to go into the oven. Now if you saw, can't remember if it was an Azure haul, I'm not sure what I'll put the video right there so you can see what I'm talking about, but that's when we got our chicken from a local butcher and we got a reasonable priced chicken. We bought 5 of those. They're not certified organic, but the gentleman that raises these chickens and my friend Tammy helps butcher these chickens and get them prepared. They are being fed and maintained in an organic manner. So even though he hasn't gone through the process of being labeled as organic, they are organic locally to me. So I'm going to go to the sink, open this bag up, and get him ready to go into the oven. So I have the chicken rinsed off. I washed my hands, but I want to go ahead and make my seasoned blend. So I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 2 teaspoons of Italian seasoning, a half a teaspoon of pepper, 1 teaspoon of salt. We have our chicken. This is the back side. So I am going to go ahead and add some seasoning to the back of him. Rub that in. I took this today is Sunday, and I took this bird out of the freezer, put it in the refrigerator on Thursday, and he's still a little bit frozen, but that is okay. I have a bacon sheet. tuck back his wings best we can. Let's do the other side. This is why you want to make your season blend before you touch your chicken or your poultry or any meat, just so we're not touching our jars with contaminated hands. So let's go ahead and add some herbs to the breast and the legs, some on the wings. Okay, that looks good. I'm gonna go wash my hands. Now this was an 8-pound turkey. I'm sorry, I want to say turkey because he's so big. But this is an 8-pound chicken. I do not know how long this is going to take. But I just have a little bit of water. So we're not frying it. We're actually going to be baking this. All right, let's clean up our mess. I believe our bread is done. Not quite as golden brown as I want, so I'm gonna put it back in the oven for a few more minutes. And this chicken, it's probably gonna take about 3 to 3.5 hours. Because I usually buy about a 10-pound turkey, somewhere between 10 and 12 pounds, and that usually takes about 3.5 to 4 hours. So I'm thinking that's going to take at least 3 hours. I will let you know when it's done how long it took to cook. We're still waiting on the artisan bread, our potatoes to cool off, our chicken to cook. Let's check on our dinner rolls. They have risen, but I don't think they're ready yet. Nope, they're not quite ready. So we're still waiting on our dinner rolls. And again, this is going to be dinner rolls for our dinner today, as well as slider buns, Sloppy Joes with the french fries. So we're at a little standstill right now, but I'll bring you back as soon as that artisan's bread's ready. I believe the bread is done. I want to take its temperature. It needs to be between 190 and 210, and we are at 210. Perfect. If I was eating this as bread, I would want it a little bit darker. But once it cools off, we're going to cut it and make little cubes, because we're going to turn this bread into a side dish, like a stuffing or a dressing, but not stuffing the chicken with it, but we're going to turn it into a side dish, such as stuffing or dressing. So it's fine the way it is, because we're going to cube it and toast it again anyway. So we're just going to let it sit right here until it cools off, and chicken's in the oven, and we'll move on to the next step. I think our sweet potatoes are where we can touch them. Oh yeah, we can handle those. All right, so I want to go ahead and peel these, chop them up, and then put them in this casserole dish right here. They're still a little firm, but that's where we want it, because it is going to be cooking for another hour, and we don't want them to be overcooked. This is traditionally my sweet potato casserole I make for holidays such as Thanksgiving and Christmas. But I decided I wanted to have a mini Thanksgiving on this day, but with a chicken instead of a turkey. Now, if you are making this for a holiday or even for a meal during the week, you can do this part on the weekend when you have time, and then the day you want to cook it, all you have to do is just throw it in the oven and it's ready for you. So this is actually a very easy meal prep for about 3 to 4 days ahead of time. chicken has been in the oven for 30 minutes. A long way to go on that, but that's okay. Real food takes time. The knife is going through it, but there is some resistance, and that's what we want. I have cooked the sweet potatoes in the Instant Pot. They are faster that way, but I can't control like the doneness, because once you start an Instant Pot, you can't just stop it and check the doneness of the potatoes, the whole pressure release, and then if it's not done, then to go back under pressure. And that's why I decided just to cook them in the oven. That is a lot of sweet potatoes, but that's okay. It's the husband's favorite holiday meal. He will enjoy this. This recipe is super simple. This is my mother's sweet potato recipe that she made every year for Thanksgiving and Christmas when we had family gatherings. Alright, so I'm putting I don't know, maybe a half a cup of brown sugar. Just spreading that around. We have some cinnamon. This is 1 teaspoon. Some maple syrup. I'm not measuring, I'm just pouring. Just make sure we get a lot of maple syrup in here. Alright, that looks good. Maybe half a cup, 3/4 of a cup. So this is 1 stick of butter. I've got them cut about a 1/2 inch cubes. Let's put that on here. And this is a whole stick of butter. I'm going to put a pinch of salt. Now if you were making this ahead of time, this is where you would stop, wrap it up, and stick it in your refrigerator. And when the chicken is closer to being done, we'll put this in the oven. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and cut up our artisan bread to get this toasted. We're going to use the same parchment paper that we cooked the bread in the Dutch oven. Okay. So we're going to cut these in about 1-inch cubes. Oh, if you've never made a good artisan bread, the smell is so delicious. Ooh, that chicken smells so good. So I'm going to put this in the oven right beside the chicken. And about every 15 minutes, I'm going to go and give these a toss because I want them to get nice and crunchy. Because the way we're going to make this is with chicken stock and other vegetables, and I don't want it to get too soggy cooking in that chicken stock. So I want them to have a nice crunch to it. Now we can make our dinner rolls. Look at that, family. It has risen. Beautiful. My normal dinner roll recipe makes about 36 dinner rolls. This is half that recipe. So I should get about 18. I'm just cutting them in quarters. Each one of these, let's see, I cut them into quarters again. Ready? Let's see if we can get 3 out of each one of these little pieces. And I am going to shape them. Pinch the bottoms, just like we do our pizza doughs. I want to put them about an inch apart. You can't even see. I'll put them about an inch apart on this baking sheet. And they don't have to be all the same size because we're not trying to impress anybody. We just want a healthy meal on the table. I love the smell of yeast bread. Change of plans, family. Should have known it wasn't going to fit on that small cookie sheet, but that's okay. Okay, let's just get back with the game plan here. Now you don't have to go through the hassle of making your own dinner bread. If you don't feel comfortable, just buy a pack of those like Hawaiian rolls or just regular dinner breads. That will work just fine. You can also use that as a slider for when you want a hamburger or, in our case, a Sloppy Joe mix. But if you haven't made your own dinner rolls, I encourage you to get in the kitchen and just practice. There's nothing more satisfying than taking ingredients and turn it into something delicious and beautiful, like homemade bread or homemade dinner rolls or hamburger buns. It's so satisfying. So I have them loosely covered with some plastic wrap. I'm just going to leave them right here on the island until they double in size. Want to get our bread cubes a good toss. Back in the oven. So we have our artisan bread made, cut up into cubes, in the oven getting toasted. Chicken has been in the oven for 1 hour. Our dinner rolls had done its first rise. We shaped them into dinner rolls, got those on a pan doing its second rise. Our sweet potato casserole is prepared in the casserole dish, but it still needs to be cooked. We need to make the side dish of dressing, but we're getting there, family. We're getting there. Now this stuffing or dressing is my father's recipe. So I got about a half a cup of frozen celery and a half a cup of frozen carrots. If you have fresh, that will work just fine. Frozen is what I have. Frozen is what we're using. We're going to go ahead and chop up a very small onion. I'm going to add a quart of chicken stock. And this is where my recipe deviates a little bit from my father's recipe. He put in fresh chopped onion, celery, and carrots in his dressing, but I prefer mine to be cooked. So we're going to actually put it on the stove with the chicken stock, and we're going to let that come up to a boil and simmer till the onions are soft and all those vegetables are soft before we put it in our stuffing or dressing. To me, it's interchangeable. We're going to give our bread cubes a toss. They're starting to get crunchy on the outside, but it's not quite where we want it yet. All right, back in the oven. The dinner rolls are still rising. So a slight change of plans. I just called Barbara and Matt to see what they were doing for dinner with the boys. And one of Matt's favorite, that's my son-in-law, one of his favorite dishes is mashed potatoes. So we're gonna go ahead and cook up some mashed potatoes. So we gotta get these peeled, diced, and on the stove to boil. Okay, the battery died and I don't know where it died at. But we have our toasted bread cubes out. Our chicken stock with the vegetables are done. I have the potatoes for the mashed potatoes in a pot of water on the stove cooking. Let's check the temperature of our bird. I can tell you right now that is not ready. Nope, it is not ready. We're gonna put it in the oven for a little bit longer. It's been an hour and 45 minutes so far. Our dinner rolls are rising. They're almost ready to go in the oven. And this right here is our sweet potato casserole and our bread. Now we can go ahead and start working on our stuffing, dressing, like I said, interchangeable. So this is a quart of chicken stock with about a half a cup of frozen celery, a half a cup of frozen carrots, and one very, very small onion. Trying to get as much of the vegetables in here and go easy on the liquid. Let's go ahead and add some salt, pepper. Now we have onions in here, but we are going to add some garlic powder, about a half a teaspoon, some oregano. We're going to add 1 teaspoon. This is some homegrown, home-dried, and then pulverized sage. There are some leaves in here, but we're going to add some sage. Wow, it smells so good already. I love sage. Add some more liquid. And I do want to taste it for seasoning. I'm going to take a piece of bread. It is so good, but we're going to add some more salt and pepper and some more sage. To me, sage it's a fall herb, and it just makes everything so good. Alright, that is all we're going to do. Alright, I have a casserole dish. I do want to butter this just a little bit. Let's go ahead and put our dressing in here. Smell that sage. Oh, it smells so good. Just to keep it from drying out too much, I am just going to drizzle a little bit of this broth right on the top. Okay. I do want to go ahead and get at least half of these dinner rolls in the oven And then after dinner, I can cook the other half. Try not to deflate them too much, because I don't have enough room in the oven for the chicken and this big pan of dinner rolls. So I do want to get some going right now. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the oven right beside the chicken. The potatoes are almost ready for us to mash. I'm going to move everything that I can off of the island, so when the potatoes are ready, we can move on to mashing those. We're just going to do simple mashed potatoes, nothing fancy, nothing elaborate. So I have yellow Yukons. I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of butter, of course some salt and pepper. I'm just going to let that sit until that butter melts. Just check on the chicken. Oh, that is hot and heavy. All right, let's take a peek. I need to take its temperature. And it needs to brown up that skin just a bit. Breast needs to be 160. Thighs needs to be 170. Now I'm just going to put this in the oven just like this, just to brown up that skin. Dinner rolls are looking beautiful. Alright, so this has been sitting for about 5 minutes. And I have some milk. Let's go ahead and start smashing. This pot's going to be pretty hot. All we're gonna do, except taste it for salt and pepper. Okay, it needs a lot of salt. Need some pepper. I'm gonna go ahead and add a little bit more butter, maybe another tablespoon. Nice creamy mashed potatoes, family. Oh, that looks so good. Alright, so we're going to let that sit so that butter can melt. We'll set this aside. Oh, the skin is browning up beautiful. And dinner is almost ready. We're going to let that chicken cook just a little bit longer. When the rolls are done, we'll go ahead and start putting in our other casserole dishes. Mashed potatoes are done. We still need to bake the other half of the dinner rolls so we can have those later this week. And I think it's coming together. This wasn't a meal I was planning. Okay, let me start over. I was planning on making a mini Thanksgiving and having that for dinner today so we can have the chicken for later on, the dinner rolls for later on this week. But then when I called my daughter and to see if her family wanted to come over and have dinner tonight, they wanted to come over. They're going to bring the kids. So I figured we just go ahead and have a mini Thanksgiving today plan. It's a happy change to a plan. We're going to have plenty leftovers from some of these dishes that we can have for tomorrow, as well as their dinner breads for sliders for later on, plus that chicken. So even though I wasn't planning on having this meal today, it's okay. It's okay. It's all about family. This is my kitchen. This is my meal prep. I can change it up if I want to, just as you could. You can change your meal plans if you want to. Make it work for your family at that time. And that's what I'm doing. All right, we're in the home stretch, family. The chicken has been in the oven for 2.5 hours. I do want to cut the leg quarter away from the breast meat. I just want to check to see if it's done and that the juices are going to be running clear. And it is not. So this needs to go back in the oven. Okay, so we still have some pink in here. We are not ready. It's going to go back in the oven. But I do want to put some juices on this skin. I don't want it to get too crispy. So we're just going to spoon some of this on top just to help it out a bit. Yeah, I said it was going to take about 3 to 3.5 hours. I was correct. Alright, that looks good right there. Oh yeah, this smells so good. Going back in the oven for a little bit longer. Our first rolls have come out of the oven. I just have them inside of this mixing bowl so they'll stay warm. The second batch is in the oven right now. The mashed potatoes are done and we still need to cook our 2 casserole dishes. We're coming together. It's very slow, but we are doing this. All right, the last of the dinner bread has come out of the oven. I'm going to put that in this bowl also. I want to keep them covered so they'll stay warm. And I went ahead and put the sweet potato casserole in the oven. The only thing we got to do is cook our dressing and make sure our chicken is done. Then dinner will be ready. Okay, our monstrous chicken has been cooking for 3.5 hours. Let's see if we can get it out of here in one piece. I do not want to throw the juices away because that is going to make some really good chicken stock. All right, let's see how talented we are here. Not bad. Let's go ahead and start slicing this beautiful bird up. Ooh, that is hot. Everything is done. Let's go ahead and make a plate of all this goodness. Look at those sweet potatoes, family. So beautiful. That is my plate. All right, we're gonna taste the chicken. Cooked perfection, tastes delicious. Our sweet potatoes. The right amount of sweetness. Our dressing. Mmm. You can taste that sage coming through with that chicken stock. The right amount of crunchness. Mashed potatoes, always good. Mmm. This is a perfect meal. Perfect. Pre-Thanksgiving dinner is a go. A lot of this will be used as leftovers for tomorrow, and then we'll move on to the rest of the week with our meal plan. Dinner roll. I want to say thank you for hanging out with me in the kitchen today while we started off doing a meal prep for the week. Ended up making a pre-Thanksgiving dinner, but that's okay. We can do that. If you don't mind, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. While you're at it, please subscribe. I would love to have you part of the Grammy family. And right there, you'll see 2 videos that I think you will like, and you can get some insight on how and why I do the things I do in my kitchen, and hopefully some of those tips will be helpful in your kitchen so that you can have a healthy, nutrient-dense meal made from scratch on your table to feed your family. Until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, family.